All right, we're back here on the virtual stage, learning as much as we can about the industry, not only some of the hard skills, best practices, but some of the soft skills today. Today we're talking about project management. I'm joined by Elizabeth Burnham, who's going to tell us a little bit more. Elizabeth, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, it's been great to see you since it's been a year.
Man, I can't even believe it. It's almost unbelievable that we flew across the entire U.S. and it took us a year. So. Well, look, Elizabeth, we're glad to have you back on this year. You know, we talk about some incredible technology all the time as an industry, right? And it's great to install that, design that, manufacture that. But one of the challenges that we face a lot of times, especially our integrator community, is how can we build upon those technologies, right? And one of the ways to do that is through effective project management skills, right? Serving our end users, our installers the best way that we can. And I'm curious, why is the project management side of things so important, especially in contrast to the manufacturing and installation side?
Well, let me ask you, have you ever had a day where the whole day has become a productivity dumpster fire?
Today.
Oh, no. Hopefully it gets better then. So I'm going to give you a tool to help you with that. So when I was an engineer and also a programmer, I had to have a variety of tools to help me with my job. And even in project management, I have to have effective tools to make sure that my day goes smoothly. And one of those tools is actually called the Eisenhower Matrix. So this was developed by Dwight D. Eisenhower, who said, sometimes things are not as important as we think they are, right? So sometimes things are not as urgent, and sometimes urgent things are not as important. So we need to figure out how to resolve that. So there's a development of the Eisenhower Matrix. It's also called the Productivity Matrix, and you can see behind us in our lovely classroom studio here. What we want to do is we want to take all your tasks that you have firing at you today, everything that's coming at you fast, and you need to figure out what is an urgent and important. You're going to put those things in the do now quadrant up in the upper left. Then, if you have things that are not urgent but important, you're going to schedule those at a later time and put those in the not urgent but important quadrant on the right. Now, under the bottom, we need to figure out what is urgent but not important, because those are things you should be able to delegate. And some people say, well, I don't have anyone to delegate to. Well, the thing is about this quadrant is that will help you see where your productivity and your time is being managed, so that maybe there are ways you can bring people up in your team who can help out. You may have people that you want to have growth and develop into other positions in the group. And then the last quadrant is not urgent, not important, delete. Like, do not check your email 60 times today. You don't need to.
Look, Elizabeth, that framework is incredibly impactful for a lot of folks in the industry, especially those maybe who are kind of getting in and trying to learn project management. One of the biggest challenges from a project management standpoint is actually establishing when a project is finished and completed, right? You will talk to every integrator and say, hey, we've got support, project's never done, right? We get it. But at the end of the day, you're rolling trucks back to your warehouses. How can you use that to help establish a done point or a complete point?
That's a great point. So with that matrix, you know, one thing is we're going to have to go back and look at our project requirements to figure out what is considered done. But if there's something that comes up at last minute, we can then use that matrix to file in, is it important and urgent, or is it urgent but not necessarily important because it doesn't fall within our requirements that the client is asking of us. And then we can really prioritize what is within our control and what are things that are starting to creep outside of what we should be doing in that project.
Absolutely. Well, last question over here on the virtual stage. Elizabeth, what are some of the things typically that you see fall through the cracks from a project management standpoint? Is it the procurement side, maybe more at the end of the line? Where are some of those cracks?
I think the biggest risk, just gave it away, dang it. So I think the biggest thing, and sometimes in our industry, is focusing on pre-calculating risk, right? You know, we tend to be more reactive than proactive. And in the project management world, there's a lot of techniques to analyze risk and try to get ahead of some of those things you're going to be concerned about in the future. And if we have things in place so that we know when that risk comes up, we have ways and techniques to mitigate it or to resolve it.
Well, fantastic. Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming back this year, flying all the way across the country to come hang out with us again.
Thank you so much for having me.